everyone. Today we're going to be talking about daily painting, or at least painting more frequently. Maybe not every day, but making a commitment to paint more frequently. So these are my daily paintings from this past week. So yesterday I painted 2, and most other days I painted 1. They're 8 by 10 to 9 by 12. And again, I painted something every day this week. I consider these daily paintings. These are daily paintings from 2006. So when I first started my commitment to painting every day, these were some of my very first. You can see I was very enamored with painting anything beach related back then in those days. So I hope that you can see the difference from my current daily paintings to my daily paintings from 2006. And this is just to illustrate how daily painting has been so critical for me in helping me get to the next level in my painting. And I look back and I say, wow, those are not too good. But for the time, you know, I thought I was doing a pretty good job and I was having fun doing them. And I think I learned so much from making that commitment to painting more frequently. So daily painting, I call it daily painting. So let's talk about why we want to paint more frequently. And then I'm going to share with you how you can do this. I'm going to give you some strategies. And then I'm going to show you how I do a typical daily painting. So let's talk about why do we want to paint more frequently? Well, we all know that we should paint more frequently than sometimes that we are able to, or we really want to. But why do we really need to do it? Well, I look at painting as a process that incorporates 2 main things that we need to master. One is the technical aspects of whatever our medium is. So with pastel, we need to know how to get those sticks to make the marks that we want them to make, right? We need to master underpaintings. We need to know what the pastels can do and can't do, right? So the technical aspects of the medium. But at the same time, we also need to develop an understanding of the basic painting concepts. So we talk about value and color theory and edges and composition and how to create depth, right? The list goes on of those painting concepts that we need to master in order for our paintings to look like those visions we have up here in our head of how they should look like. So what we really need to do is practice. Because when we study these concepts, and all we do is study the concepts, then we don't know how to translate that to a painting. But on the other hand, when we practice, those concepts start to become intuitive. And that way when we get up and we paint, it seems effortless. It really never is effortless, but it's less of a struggle. So the more you paint, the more you'll be more intuitive with the things that you're learning. So it's 2 things have to happen. So I know that a lot of you want to make that commitment to painting more often. So I want to give you some strategies that will help you do that, because I know it's not easy for us to always paint every day. You know, we might be working, we might have other obligations or other things we want to do. And so it is really hard to make time to paint every day. So what I want to say to you is don't stress over that. Just make time to paint more frequently than you do. So if you already paint a couple times a week, add another day, right? If you can paint every day, that's fantastic, but it's not really that critical. What is important is that you put in a few minutes every few days or so, and that's going to be good. All right, so what I'm trying to do now is be more efficient with the way I paint, because I'm trying to squeeze in my painting time now that I'm helping to care for my granddaughter when my daughter's gone back to work. So I've been really efficient this week, but that is by design. The reason I've been able to be so efficient is because I am preparing in advance, which is one of the strategies that you need to use. Prepare in advance. It's kind of like when you make your coffee the night before, you get your coffee ready so that all you have to do is press the button in the morning. What I've been doing is preparing my paper and choosing my subject the evening before. Taping my paper to my board, setting out my pastels, so that when the baby goes to sleep, I know I have probably at least 30 minutes to do my painting, and that's exactly what I've done this week. So prepare in advance is the number one thing that you need to do. Set aside a place, pick some photographs, get your paper ready, and then when it's time, you won't be too busy puttering around the studio trying to figure out what to do. So prepare in advance. The other thing, set a timer, because you don't want to spend hours on a small daily painting. This is just practice. It's just kind of like playing scales or hitting the ball over the net, practicing your serve. That's all it is. It's not meant to be paintings you're going to frame. So set a timer, I say 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. If you still have time to paint, do another one. But if you don't, you say to yourself, hey, I've got 20 minutes. I can get in the studio and paint. The other thing is the 3 S's. Small, simple studies. Small, simple studies. You're not going in there to paint something that you're going to frame or enter into a show. You're just going in there to get warmed up, to have fun, to experiment, to be playful. Keep it small. My daily studies used to be 5 by 7. I've kind of advanced now. I do a 8 by 10, 9 by 12. But 5 by 7 was a fantastic way for me to paint quickly because, 20 minutes I could do a 5 by 7. Keep it simple. Choose something that you're familiar with or that you really love, that you really know. Don't pick a complicated photo for a small, simple study. And then the last word, S, for studies. Take the pressure off yourself to create a masterpiece and call your paintings studies. These are studies. If they turn out to be put in a frame, yay, that's icing on the cake. But you've removed the pressure, and so now you're just going to go in there and have some fun. So those are some strategies you can use. Now what I want to do today, for today's demo, is show you at least one quick, simple study and how I approach it. Now, you're going to maybe ask yourself, well, don't I need to do a thumbnail? Don't I need to make a plan? Normally, yes. When you're painting, I say make a plan. But when I'm doing a quick, simple study, I just want to have fun and I just want to respond to my subject. This is time just to experiment and play and to not overthink everything you do. So I'm not going to do a thumbnail or make a plan, but I am painting something that I'm familiar with so that I don't really need a plan. I can just have fun with it. So I'll start off with this one right here. And the photo that I'm going to paint from is a meadow with some wildflowers of some sort. They're pink. So I look at it and I say, okay, I want this to be about the wildflowers, so I'll raise the horizon. I'm going to use a pastel pencil just to do a very quick drawing. Sometimes for my small daily paintings, I will actually do an underpainting just because it's something that I might want to experiment with, but oftentimes I just go ahead and start painting directly. I think I'll do just a very quick dry wash for this one. So here's my big simple shapes. I want to pull the viewer's eye through the meadow and up into the distance. So I am actually thinking of a plan as I paint. I'm going to move this guy over. He's distracting me. So now I'm ready to paint. This is a little piece of Uart. It's 5 by 7. And I say, well, I've got some pink flowers. It's kind of a moody gray day. So maybe if I underpaint with pink, that might be a good way to start. The pastels that I'm going to be using for the painting are the pastels that I've been using all week long for my daily studies. And so I thought, well, why not just use the same palette, because that's one less thing that I have to think about. So when I looked down at this palette, I asked myself, well, what do I have that I can use for the block in? And I have my trusty 305 Nupastels. One really, really quick, simple way to start a painting is to block in the extremes. So I think I'll do that. It's really a good technique for a quick daily study. So I'm going to block in the darkest darks, which are these upright trees and bushes. I'm going to also darken this foreground area. Then you want to block in your lightest light, and the lightest light in this case is going to be the sky. And so I think I'll put a pale pink up here for the sky. And then you want to block in your most intense color. Trying to search for the word. The most intense color here probably are the pink flowers. So I'm going to just block in some pink for the meadow. And then normally everything else in your painting will be some sort of middle value. I've got a lot of green going on in here, so why not block in a little bit of green? By the way, there's no right or wrong way to do this initial block in. You just want to get a layer of pastel down on the paper. Now I've got my darkest darks, lightest light, most extreme or most intense color, and then filled in a color everywhere else. What I'm going to do is take one step away and get my piece of pipe foam that I forgot, and I'm going to blend in this first layer. I'm going to blend in this first layer for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I want to remove all the little dark spots, or excuse me, light spots that are part of that Uart paper. And that way I can use less layers of pastel because I won't have to be trying to cover up those little light spots of paper. I also want to start with a nice soft out of focus underpainting because now I can decide where I want to put the focus and the clarity. So this is a really quick, simple way to jumpstart your painting. So now I'm going to come in, and the first thing I'm going to do is reinforce the dark areas. So I'm going to put down a little bit of a dark burgundy, and again down in the foreground area. I'm going to add another layer of dark with a dark blue. And then I think that's 3 layers of dark. Now I can start to add the green because this is actually a tree, so I'm going to add some green for the tree. And I have to decide where the light source is, so the light is coming in from the right side. So I want to add some feeling of light on the right side of the tree. And I don't want to put the light everywhere because if I put it everywhere it's going to destroy the form of that particular tree. And I'm going to assume that these other smaller trees are back just a little bit further, so I'm adding a blue-green on them, which is a cooler color, which will help push that into the distance. Behind those trees, I have a distant mountain, so I'm going to put that in with a cool blue and sneak that behind these trees. So I'm adding just another layer to this painting. And there we have the distant mountain. I'm going to sneak it in here as well. The next thing that I'm going to address is the sky. So I decided that it was going to be kind of a moody day, so I'm going to just add a really, really pale, cool, grayed down blue on top of the pink. Remember I put down the pink for that quick underpainting? So now I'm using that sky color to start to break up the tree to give the tree a little bit more of an interesting silhouette. I'm adding those sky holes. And when I add a sky hole, I tap it with my fingers so that it's not as hard-edged. I just want to soften it slightly. Now down towards the horizon, I'm going to reintroduce that pink. I'm going to put more of that pink down there because I like that pink glow at the horizon. And there I've got my sky. So now I'm going to move on down into the foreground area. Now there's a lot of pink flowers, so what I'm going to do is add some more of the pink in large horizontal bands. So I have several varieties of pink down here on my tray. I'm going to just kind of create this kind of lazy Z shape leading down into the foreground with these layers of pink. Now I'm not making polka dots, I'm not making individual flowers, I'm making flowers in masses. Now I'm going to come break up the masses, so I need to start to add the grass. So in the distance, that grass would actually be lighter and cooler, so let's see what I have for a lighter, cooler green. And I'm going to kind of sneak it in between some of these bands of pink. And this becomes the grass in the foliage. And I have several cooler, lighter greens. But as I come towards the foreground, the green gets a little bit more intense and a little bit brighter, and actually could get even a little warmer as you come to the foreground. I'm also at this point going to change the direction of my marks to go more in an up and down fashion, because now you'd actually be seeing the front of these grasses and flowers. I'm adding a little bit of a brighter green in there. How about a little bit of a warmer, more yellowy green? I don't want to get too crazy with this because it's not a sunny day, right? So I don't want it to feel too sunny. Now I'm going to go in and I want to pull the viewer's eye back to the trees, right? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give a little bit more light to some of these trees because they're starting to look a little too blobby. And these guys, these two are almost the same shape and size, so I'm going to carve into this a little bit more and alter the shape to make it a little more interesting. All right, so how can I get the viewer to go back to these trees? Well, I'm going to add those important spice marks that we've been talking about. I'm going to add contrast, and the contrast that I'm going to add are going to be more intense colors against the duller colors that are here in the grass. I'm actually going to add a kind of a dull mauve-y pink in here just to dull it down even more. So I'm going to say, okay, I want you to start here, let's say. So I'm going to add a flower, little flower marks, because we can actually see the flowers in the foreground. So I can actually make little flower dots. And as I go into the distance, those flowers are going to become smaller. And they're going to just become part of those masses that I've already established. So I'll just make smaller little dots. Remember, you don't want dots everywhere. If their dots are everywhere, then the eye's not going to know where you want it to look. And then as I get into the distance, I'm going to put a couple of little flower marks up into the trees so that you really know, hey, let's look at these trees right in here. And then finally, I'm going to just add a little blue violet into this mountain range a little bit more. Let's add a little bit of light onto some of these foreground flowers just to really say, hey, look at me. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some touches of a more intense, brighter yellow-green. Again, just as little spice marks to pull your eye. And when you get back to the back, into the distance, I want to give you a nice little spot of bright yellow-green just to say, hey, come look back here and let's go and explore behind the trees. I'm going to add just a touch more pink to the sky, and then I'm going to call it done. That is what I would consider a quick daily painting, or one of my daily studies. I just work quickly, work directly, and I just respond to the scene. I take all the things that I've learned, how to create depth, create a pathway for the viewer, think about my composition, all value, color, all those things start to just come out intuitively because I've done enough paintings. So I can't stress enough. Practice, 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 and we'll talk more about that this week, but I wanted to give you some strategies today and show you a daily painting, and get out to your easel and paint.